Greetings comic lovers and welcome back to Casually Comics, the channel where we chat all things comics, from reviews of comics new and old, to history to anecdotes, really wherever our whims take us. Bloodsport, just who is he? Bloodsport at the time of this recording has recently hit the big screen in The Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad 2, only not really, because it's much more of a remake than a sequel. There are many ways in which it's the same film and other ways in which it's a sequel. There's some interesting things that happened here, what with the fact that Bloodsport was clearly supposed to be dead shot, but it still raised the question that people are wondering more about Bloodsport in the comics. So if you're curious about his comic book origin, you've come to the right place. Now when it comes to pulling more obscure characters for the Suicide Squad, Bloodsport is a pretty big deep cut, although he has a very pointed and emotional backstory, and then an uncomfortable follow-up. He comes from an era when Superman was being redefined. This is post-Crisis on Infinite Earths in 1985. He was gaining / cementing some of the character traits that are now staples. So let's take a look at the first appearance and origin of Bloodsport, because they're the same thing, which is convenient. It's not always happening in the same place. I'm Sasha, and before we get started, if you're enjoying this content, you know what to do. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. A bloodsport is defined as something involving the shedding of blood, especially the hunting or killing of animals. It's a term with a dark connotation already, and one can make it darker still, which does occur here. For what is the most deadly animal to hunt? Man. Bloodsport debuted in Superman number 4 in 1987. He was created by John Byrne and Carl Kessel, who wrote and inked the aforementioned issue. This is from the rebooted Superman post-Crisis on Infinite Earths in 1985. Following the reset of the DC universe and its continuity, Superman was relaunched under John Byrne, and he was revamped by being taken back to basics. He was made more accessible and given more human struggles in terms of emotions, and even sometimes physically, he was vulnerable. His connections to people were examined, and his super jerk or super dick phase was left firmly in the Silver and Bronze Ages. There's a reason there could be a whole blog dedicated to super jerk moments. Classic Superman was interesting. In the process of all of this, new characters and villains were introduced. Enter Bloodsport, sort of. Now Bloodsport is a name, like many in the DC universe, that has been used by many characters. In our case, we're talking about the first one, Robert DuBois, introducing the name into the universe. And he bursts onto the scene in as action and movie a manner as possible, well, one of, shooting the title character's name off the panel. This cover is going all in for this image. Look, even the logo and Comics Code Approved logo are askew, as if blasted aside. Points for commitment. Bloodsport. He plays for keeps. I don't think he has enough guns, 1987. Can we perhaps add some more? This cover radiates aggressive action movie energy, and it feels like The Predator, or rather Predator, which came out the same year. I'm kinda into it. If you're into that kind of content, this will draw you right in. The story opens on Jimmy, who has kept his commitment to his bow tie despite it being the 1980s. Respect. He's out with Lucy Lane, Lois's sister, and his girlfriend. He's trying to weasel some info out of her about her new job for a story. He wants her to take some pictures for him, and she's not having it. She's upset because she worked hard for and cares about this job, but he's all, no, this could be my big break. Honest to God, Jimmy, if we hadn't already been dating for 2 years, I might think you've been jerking me along just to get, maybe Jimmy's playing the long game. But there's no time to question Jimmy, who's going through a morally dubious character arc at this moment in history. For someone bursts into the restaurant yelling fools, never a good sign. It's actually a really brutal panel. Despite the code-approved bloodlessness, Bloodsport just opens fire, and you see the bullets just tearing through people.
Fool animals, is this what we fought for? Is this what we died for? Me and Mickey didn't get our cans blown off in Nam so you could waste away your lives like this.
And so he rides off, putting all Metropolis on notice as he shoots behind him, taking out even more people. Jimmy then activates the Signal Watch, because this really is a job for Superman, and Superman shows up with quips about how Jimmy used to misuse the Signal Watch. It's a callback. They even use the Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen logo in the corner, although I'm not entirely sure why. I see you callback, but why though? Bloodsport's name is worked into the dialogue and blown up to be the title. Nice touch layout-wise. And so Superman goes to see what has happened, and he's horrified. The start of this run did this a lot, showcasing Superman's humanity. He's not just some god aloofly floating among us, but someone who cares and has the power to do things to change what's happening and wants to, but isn't sure exactly how far to go.
How did this happen? Get a cell ready, Maggie. Bloodsport is as good as caught.
Jimmy and his bow tie are in hot pursuit. Superman has tracked Bloodsport to a bowling alley, where he's been continuing his massacre.
Look at you, soft and wet and useless. All of you.
Superman is angry about the wantonness of all of this, and the panels are very unsettling. The emotions and the atmosphere are very well conveyed, so the danger feels very realistic. They amp it up by having very little dialogue in this sequence, so it makes the whole hostage situation feel very tense. Superman does get the gun away from Bloodsport, and then he tells him to go climb his thumb. It's actually very old slang. It comes from the hard-boiled detective era. I'm not sure if it's something that people actually said or if it was just invented for pulp novels, but either way, that's where it's hailing from. It's another way of saying stick your thumb up your butt, which is another way of saying go after yourself. Layers. Getting the swearing in past the censors with these layers. Noted and appreciated. Some also say it means go away. But come on, let's take the more colorful meaning. It's more fun. As Bloodsport goes on about Charlie's and rice cakes, he materializes another weapon in his hand. This causes Superman to think that there may be more to him than meets the eye, like maybe he's dealing with a meta situation or something. But he's not worried. What's a gun gonna do to him? Oh well, it's got kryptonite in it. Bloodsport's about to finish him off, but not if Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen has anything to say about it. He's there, and he's picked up Bloodsport's giant gun. At this distance, how can I miss? So your call, Bloodsport. Drop it or I'll drop you. Bloodsport chooses the third option, pink smoke bomb, and then Jimmy takes Superman to the hospital because he's very hurt. Man, that girl is working overtime hiding his identity. The doctors get the kryptonite out, and there's a detail about how they were able to do so because his invulnerability came back after they removed it. It's a nice nod that isn't an info dump. It does answer a question that people ask a lot about this, which is how did they pierce Superman's skin? The thing is, Superman has lost a lot of blood, and there's no match for him, so really he shouldn't be going off and doing anything, but of course he can't just leave Bloodsport to go on a rampage, because he's still going. Plus the fact that kryptonite was used was a huge clue. At this point in Superman's history, the knowledge of kryptonite isn't widespread. In fact, there's only one person who would really know about it, and that's Lex Luthor. So this is a tip off to Superman that Lex is behind this. This era really reimagined Lex. While in the pre-crisis era he had been a mad scientist, obsessed with taking down Superman, John Byrne redesigned him as an evil executive, which he felt would be more relatable for the time period. This meant that for a time, Lex went from being the front and center of his schemes to someone behind the scenes, manipulating things, and he was working hard to have a good public persona and be seen as someone good who was helping Metropolis. In fact, in a way he did want to. Just Superman, who does he think he is? Over time, however, the more mad scientist elements would creep back in, and he would settle into a fusion of personas. But these new elements were welcomed by most, not all, and have stuck with the character. Neil Gaiman didn't like it. He said, I have a quote, just because this quote always makes me laugh. Lex Luthor has become a multinationalist. I liked him better as a bald scientist. He was in prison, but they couldn't put his mind in prison. Now he's just a skinny kingpin. But back to Bloodsport. Yes, he's being backed by Lex, but there's a middleman in between. It's an extra layer to protect him, but he's still not pleased with the outcome of what's going on. However, his middleman blames him, saying that they knew this was a potential because they ran a psychological profile, and it showed that if they outfitted him with weaponry, there was a chance that Robert DuBois was just going to go off the deep end because of his Vietnam fixation. Well, Lex says whatever the reason, doesn't matter, terminate him now. Superman arrives before Lex can dispatch his troops, but he's woozy, off balance, and they demonstrate it by the fact that he doesn't fully land correctly. It's a little thing, but something he worries will be a giveaway. You think you can handle the job of finishing me off without cheating this time? Listen, Clark, you can try to rebrand using kryptonite as cheating all you want. It's not gonna happen.
I don't need kryptonite to take you out, not when I can get any weapon you can imagine.
That's right. That's why he's consistently using 3. Superman's costume takes a beating in this. I see you, strategic muscle line rips. You are appreciated. Luthor then sends some of his troops to fight, or rather his private security, to help take down Bloodsport, which reveals important information to Superman, which is that Bloodsport didn't know that he was being backed by Lex. Also because of this, Superman is able to discern that Bloodsport isn't actually a meta, but rather that he's using some kind of teleportation technology, and he's able to disable it.
My weapons? What happened to my weapons?
I am far too amused by the fact that he's flicking him.
Now, Bloodsport, stop. It's all over. Your weapons are gone. There's nothing more you can do. Surrender. We'll find you a doctor to help you get over the hell you went through in that useless war.
Tell us how you really feel, Clark. Also, he's still gonna get arrested because a lot of people are dead. Bloodsport says that no, it's not over. He's got a dead man's switch and he's gonna blow it all up. And then we get what we've been building to. Bloodsport is more than just a commentary on Nam, or a cliched commentary on Nam. There's a bit more to him than that. For Jimmy tracked down his brother Mickey, and it turns out that Bloodsport never went to Vietnam at all. He was actually a draft dodger who fled to Canada, and his brother took his place. And when he served, he was badly maimed, losing all 4 limbs. Bloodsport couldn't handle the guilt he felt, and as a result fell into this fantasy where he had gone and channeled the rage and anger he felt at himself outwards at other people. Good investigating, Jimmy, especially in the era before the internet. The bow tie is like a stat enhancer for Jimmy. This climax is trying to bring forth a couple of ideas about the Vietnam War and its effects through the contrast of Mickey and Robert, both who have been irreparably harmed in different ways. But Bloodsport also massacred a lot of people, so that dampens the sympathy a little bit. A lot. That's all finished, Bobby. We lost that one. And now America just wants to forget. We want to forget, Bobby. Please let it end. The comic ends abruptly after this with a dedication to the names on the Black Wall, which is a memorial located in Washington. And it's just done. It's very sudden. It feels like the issue had more to say, but then it just kind of cut and run. Or alternatively, that it didn't know what else to say, and so just left. There is some political messaging happening here, or at least commentary. There's attempts to have it be a bit more nuanced, and they play it out through the characters, but it is still very clear what the main message is supposed to be, at least. We're bad. Still, some different aspects are played out through the characters. characters. Although Superman does say it was useless, but Superman in this time period would just make slight comments on issues. For example, earlier in the book, he also mentioned balancing the national budget as a joke, or if he had a nickel for every time people said that they could take him out. But yes, Bloodsport very much is a commentary on the manifestation of damages to people's psyches because of the Vietnam War. And if you want to get extra allegorical, what it does to people around you. But maybe that's getting too deep. Maybe this was just an attempt to give him a slightly more complex backstory. I may be reading too much into it. Take it with a grain of salt. Your mileage may vary. This issue is a good one in terms of expanding the at the time restructured Superman universe. You get to see how Lex works in this world, how he's trying to present a good image of himself to Metropolis while actually being one of the people who harms it behind the scenes, all in an attempt to bolster himself. You also get to see the human side of Clark and the vulnerable side of Superman, and how they're very much the same person. Clark is still Clark even while he's Superman in this era. Not over the identity reveal, still salty. Jimmy is still in the position of Superman's friend, but his reporter skills have been upped. Also, he's been given more of a personality. There's a bit more going on with him. He has more going on than please get me souvenirs, Superman, although I'm pretty sure he'd still like some souvenirs. As for Bloodsport, Vietnam commentary aside, there's not much to him. In fact, if you take that away, he's just a mass murderer. It left him in one of those positions where characters who are created with a very specific or niche backstory can kind of get stuck. The where do we go from here, or where can we go from here? Bloodsport wasn't utilized too often in this era, only a handful of times. Although he did have an encounter with Deadshot, and he also was in the JLA/Avengers crossover event, and he fought Iron Man, so that's pretty cool. Even while Bloodsport was still around, the second one was created, Alexander Trent, who appeared in Adventures of Superman number 507 in 1993. And he was a white supremacist. Joy. He could also summon weapons. Him and the first Bloodsport ended up in a boxing match together in Adventures of Superman 526 in 1995, and our first Bloodsport dies in that issue. He dies trying to escape the prison, and Trent also dies that issue, but he's killed because he showed weakness to DuBois. Bye, Bloodsport. Robert DuBois fell very hard into the we're not sure what to do with this character. How do we move past this distinct introduction / do we need to? He's reappeared recently at the time of this recording in the 2021 Suicide Squad. They tweaked his backstory. Now Mickey died and the flashbacks didn't show a massacre. Also, the war is no longer specified as Vietnam. It's just about enlisting. They've also updated his look. He has more of the design from the film. They've done some horizontal tie-in, which does work because the movie costume is a step up from just a bandana. The movie, as mentioned, went with a completely different characterization because it was basically a different coat of paint on what was supposed to be Deadshot. However, that ended up working in Bloodsport's favor because it moved him away from this very niche backstory. So the potential for Bloodsport may be there if they do some serious reworking of his backstory, uncouple it so specifically from the Nom commentary. Speaking of, Nom has become a bit of a cliche or a trope in how it's handled in certain stories. It feels like this avoids some of them, but it's very much a mileage may vary type thing, and of course opinions have changed with distance and time. So these kind of obvious commentaries can hit different in different eras. So you'll have to let me know. And this is a solid issue, even if it does feel like it got cut off. That is the tale of the comic book origins of Bloodsport. Questions, comments, concerns? Do you like the updated costume? Are you a fan of Vulnerable Superman? A fan of Jimmy's bow tie? Just tell me things down below. What do you think of this whole introductory issue? I want to hear about it. I also want you to please like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking this time of your day to spend discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.